Don't mess around with Tim.
My name is John. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Pet Semetary by Stephen King.
This book is about the Creed family who moved from Chicago to Ludlow, Maine, because the patriarch Lewis Creed accepts a job position at a university nearby the town of Ludlow. Near their house in Maine, there's a pet cemetery where the kids of the neighborhood bury their pets, cats, dogs, whatnot. Lewis Creed starts having ominous dreams about this pet cemetery warnings, and it follows the Creeds on this journey that grows increasingly tragic. I really enjoyed this book. I really think it's compelling and unique. A quick story on how I got to reading Stephen King. In middle school, I was a bit turned off by the horror genre. I thought of 80s or even now slasher flicks, but my mom was a Stephen King fan back in high school. She kept recommending me try Stephen King. At the end of freshman year, I picked up The Stand. Yeah, this didn't go very well. Schoolwork started kicking in, and I didn't really have time to read freshman year. I was intimidated by the length of it. Recently, I watched Impression Blend's link in the description review on Pet Semetary. I was intrigued by her description, so you should probably check that out. I recommend it. She's an amazing reviewer for movies and books. So I picked it up. It's only 400 pages. It's nothing like the Behemoth, which is The Stand, which I foolishly picked freshman year. For my cons, the first 2/3, it is a very slow burn. This is because Stephen King really takes his time developing the thoughts and the psychology of his main character, Lewis. You really get to know him as a character, which I'll talk more later in my prose section. The last third really offers you the scares and the thrills that you expect from the horror novel. It's just the start is a little too slow. And my second flaw is the character Rachel. She is less developed than any of the other characters, and especially in the beginning. And she's kind of the archetype of the housewife, and I could have used some more depth to her character. She is extremely scared of the pet cemetery, and she won't let her children go near the pet cemetery. You'll find out why she's doing this later on in the book, and then her character gets a layer and adds more intrigue and depth to her character, but early on, her character seems lacking bland, so to speak. Under the prose, whereas Rachel suffers in the first half of the book, Lewis shines. I really liked him as a protagonist. Where I give my first flaw a little leeway because Lewis really needed that time for Stephen King to dive deep into his character. He's a protagonist, but he's just an everyday guy. As the events of the book lead to darker and darker situation, these events get darker and darker. You see him react to this very humanly and very relatably. It really allows the reader to project his or her experiences they're along for the ride. My second strong point is the prose. Stephen King has a folksy writing style. He reminds me of the Coen brothers a little. In the Coen brothers films, they interject with anecdotes from side characters. The side characters might tell the main character a little side story, a tangent, but it somehow connects to the main story. Reader is left to mull that information over and analyze it and figure out how it does connect. Stephen King feels the same way. He dives deep in Lewis's inner monologue. Lewis often goes on side tangents in his mind. An example of this would be his father-in-law. He has a very shaky relationship with Rachel's father, and he thinks about him a lot, and he thinks about his marriage and how it is affected by that conflict a lot. And that's these seemingly unrelated side tangents connect to the main story. You can piece it together on your own. And besides just adding to a folksy feel similar to the Coen brothers in the films, I feel like it really lets the reader know how Lewis thinks in his psychology, which I think is important. My last pro is the themes. This book tackles a lot of themes very well. Some of them are hardly even they'll sprinkle through, but at least I noticed them. I have a tendency to think too deeply. Sometimes I watch a movie with my parents and I go on this rant about like, ooh, I like this theme, and they say, no, Johnny, I think it's simpler than that. So I could be looking way too deep into this, but the main theme in here is grief. I really related to this because earlier this year my dog died. She had pancreatic cancer, and I know it's minuscule compared to what this family have to deal with, but I can relate to them on some level. It gave me another perspective to view my grief, and that really helped me to somehow come to terms with it. The ending really gave me another way to analyze and contend with my feelings on the subject. It kind of lended a helping hand, if you know what I mean. The themes of death and grief and how the family struggles with grief are always at the core of this novel. At the end, the scares do come, and they're magnificent. They gave me the shivers. Very good and fun. Besides that, it always comes back to how this family is dealing with the grief, and I liked how that really grounds the story into something inherently human and really makes the story scarier and more disturbing and more effective and more emotionally powerful. So, all in all, I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a little slow, and Rachel could have had a little more depth toward the beginning, but the rest of it is really compelling and really streamlined and focused on the central theme of grief, which I really appreciate, and I had the feels. It took me through an emotional roller coaster. I'm John. This is my second YouTube video, and I hope you liked it. I liked filming it for you. So, if you liked it, subscribe. I hope to continue these videos. I want to create a reading update video of all the books I'm reading now and my initial thoughts on them soon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching this. Bye.